Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 435. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com. We're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed and award-winning children's book author, Stenetta Anthony.
Hi, Barney. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, So yep. I'm wicked good. I'm wicked good.
Wicked good.
I'm wicked good.
Yeah. Before the show, we've been talking about Chicago style pizza. We've been talking about wind. We've been talking about New England phrases. We're here in Vermont, and we always use the word wicked for something. And it slipped right out. It's just slipped right out on me. It's Stenetta when we were talking about something. So there you go. So I'm really excited to be talking to you, Stenetta, because you published a few children's books. You got Ella Learns to Dance, A Home for Sally, The Love Story, and we're gonna. So before we start talking about this, I wanted to kind of get in and ask you some questions about, because before you were a teacher, correct?
Yes, I was an educator for 22 years, and I taught from preschool, pre-K, to third grade. Pre-K was actually my favorite. Other grades were nice, but pre-K was my favorite, and because it allowed me to be dramatic. The younger children, they're dramatic. They say, they do. I couldn't say whatever I wanted to, but it allowed me to bring that really fun side out of myself. So if I felt as if we can roll on the floor, which I did, we would roll on the floor. So it was okay. That was my favorite grade to teach.
Okay. So my question for you then is, can you take us back to the moment you decided to transition from teaching into writing children's books?
Okay, so it actually came from, I was volunteering at my church. I was volunteering in the nursery department in my church. And so one of the requests was to create a story around a biblical character. And everyone had to pick someone different. So my character was Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so I had to develop this character and put them all together. And we had, when I'm saying curriculum, they wanted a curriculum with coloring and everything based around this character, all different stories, just everything. So as an educator, it was kind of easy to put that together. And I had to develop a story, which is actually where the love story came from. And so I created that particular story for that particular curriculum. I never thought that that story was going to be published. I read that story to a friend. I read the love story to a friend. And they asked me the question, where did you purchase that story from? And I said, oh, I made it. I created it, And they said, that's a good story. And I said, oh, okay. And I kind of left it for about a year. And they came back to me. My friend came back to me. And she said, so what did you do with that story? I said, oh, it's sitting on the shelf. It's sitting on the shelf. And she said, have you ever thought about publishing? And I said, no, because at the time I'm an educator. So I every educator is different. Some of them think about publishing books, some of them don't. That wasn't on my radar to publish a book at all. And so, with some pushing from her, and then some conversation, long conversations with my husband, uh, I decided to put out and publish the love story. And I was still teaching at the time. So my first audience were my students. So my students, they told me what they liked, what they didn't like, the pictures and everything. And so that helped me to develop that. And so I say after I wrote the love story is when my writer's bug actually hit. And I started thinking about all kind of stories that I had read, stories that I could create. Because one of the things that I loved to do in the classroom was I would read a book, but I wanted my students to recreate their that particular book and make it their own. So I didn't realize I had a storyteller inside of me, but I did have a storyteller inside of me.
Mm.
That came out.
Now, so you've received several awards and recognitions.
Mhm.
Uh, what do those honors mean to you as a writer and an educator?
You know what? It made me proud of my work. Uh, I was excited to receive each and every one of them. Each and every one of them means something different to me. Um, the first one I received is I'm looking at them now. The first one I received was the Literary Titan. And it was just a recognition of because it taken me a while to really say I'm an author.
Mm.
Uh, Even though I said it, and it was verbal, but it taken me a while to really stand in that space, if that makes sense. Sometimes you're in a space, but I had to stand in that space to say I am an actual author.
Mm.
I'm an educator too, but I'm an author as well. And so each one meant something different to me.
How do you balance writing stories that are fun and imaginative with those that also teach some like meaningful lessons?
um, I fall back on the things that I taught in the classroom, the things
Mm.
that I see that are not as prevalent in Chicago, not in Chicago, but in the world, different
Mm.
messages. I'm going to say for A Home for Sally. Uh, you see it more now, but at the time when I was writing it, I would watch Saturday morning television. And one of the things is they always had adoption programs on. And one of the things that I never seen was uh, a cat or a dog with a disability that they were
Mm.
featuring to be adopted. And so that came from a place like that. And then also being in the classroom where I had taught children with disabilities, and they there wasn't a lot of books around or that featured characters that had a disability that looked like that particular child or that particular animal. So I glean a lot from my storytelling from the classroom. And also, my primary audience is children. So I glean a lot from them because they come up with the most fantastic stories. Now, some of those stories I may never publish, but I still take those little notes saying, okay, maybe someday I
Mm.
can make that into a story.
And so, was A Home for Sally your second book that you came out with?
Okay, yeah. So the love story was the first. A Home for Sally was the second. Uh, Ella Learns to Dance is the third.
Okay. And so, talk to us a little bit about Ella Learns to Dance. Where did the inspiration for that come from?
That came from me uh,
Okay.
because Ella has some difficulty. Her friends don't think she can dance because she's an elephant, and she goes through challenges of learning how to dance ballet and everything like that. Well, I have two left feet. So I love to dance, but I am not the best dancer. So if you may turn me right and I'll go left. So and I'll just spin around.
Can you share some of your insights then in your writing process? Do you outline or you just dive right in? How does that work for you?
Every book is different.
Okay.
So with A Home for Sally, that was, I think that had been stirring in my heart and in my mind for a couple of years before it was actually written. And
Hmm.
so I was actually going into a meeting, and that entire story came in
Okay.
a matter of 15 minutes. Now, of course, you got to still go through the editing process and illustrations and everything like that. But it had been brewing for a while. So, since it had been brewing for a while, I'm going to say it was an easier write for me. Not saying all the other ones were not as easy, but it was. And I do take a lot of outlines. So I write things out first. I write the ideas out. And then after I write them out, I look at them multiple times. I can't tell you. I look at them multiple times, and then I'll start the writing process. So I'll take notes. I like this part. I like that part. I'm scratching. I'm writing. I'm typing. I'm putting red marks through everything. So my writing process is different for each book uh, because I want it to be unique. I want every story to be unique.
Hmm.
So the process is different for each one.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. And so, how was your process then, as you mentioned, for Ella Learns to Dance?
For Ella Learns to Dance, um, I did more research with this one
Okay.
because I wanted to research, okay, do elephants really dance? I mean, you see them, but can they really dance ballet? How graceful are they? So I did a lot of researching about elephants,
Hmm.
and I did a lot of researching on the sounds of elephants. Even though you can't hear the sound in the book, I wanted to hear the sound of the elephants. And so I did a lot of researching with that. And that's how it evolved from there. And then I did some researching on ballet, uh, what ballet dancers normally look like. We see what they look like on the screen, or if you've been to a ballet or television or something. So it was more research with Ellen Learns to Dance before I really actually wrote that story.
Okay. And so, how did you find an illustrator for your books?
So I did hybrid publishing. So I did hybrid publishing for all three books. I can't
Okay.
draw. I, I cannot. When I say my stick people, they they don't even look like stick people. But they so I have a long questionnaire that they send you. I used a different publisher for the love story than I did for A Home for Sally and Ella Learns to Dance. So it was two different.
Okay.
It was two different publishers, but I can tell you everything that I want, but I cannot draw anything. My imagination, and so whoever works with me, you have to know. You have to just really follow me. I want these color eyes. I want these lashes. I want this. I want that. I can tell you everything, but I can't draw anything. And so when people compliment me, they say, "Oh, these are just beautiful illustrations that you drew." No, no, I can't draw. I can't draw.
And so would you say though, like across the board with like your three books so far, are there certain messages or values that you kind of aim to consistently include in your books?
Yes. So I want to, in each book, I want to, one of the messages is that you can accomplish anything, no matter what your disability is, no matter what your size is, even no matter what your religion is, you can accomplish anything. And I want to show
Mm,
kindness because it's important to be kind.
right.
That's why, and I'm going to say, even in the love story, Jesus shows kindness to the world. And in the Home for Sally, uh, kindness is shown through his adoption process. And Ella learns to dance. She has some friends that were not kind. So I show the both parts of, some people can be mean and some people can be kind. So I want to
Mm,
make sure that I'm showing both of those messages that you may experience in both, but it's okay. It's okay. And it's
okay.
okay. And the message I want to really say is it is okay to accept yourself just the way you are. I'm going to say a lot of children and adults, we struggle with our appearance.
What up are you, do you have what upcoming projects or books are you working on now then?
Okay, so I am working on a sequel to Ella Learns to Dance. So
Oh, fun.
I'm in the process of writing that, and she's evolving. Uh, I've written about one, two, three different stories. I'm just trying to figure out which one I want to release first.
Okay. And so what have you learned about yourself by publishing these books?
Mm. What I've learned about myself is not to be so hard on myself. Um,
Mm,
Cause I'm harder on myself than anyone else. I could say that, and to learn to be
mm,
patient with myself. Because writing is a process. Is
mm,
some people can write overnight, and that's okay. But I'm not that particular person. And it may take me a moment to write one story. It may take me six, even though they're children's books, it may take me 6 or 7 months to really narrow in and home in on that message that I like. And the second thing I learned about myself, I'm a researcher.
okay.
I love to research. It just gives me a thrill when I'm researching something. And so now I've gotten where I'm not just researching for books, I'm researching for everything. So I love to research. And I'm a history buff. I like to research and learn about history too. So, yeah, that's what I found out about myself.
What is one piece of advice you'd give to any aspiring children's book authors then?
Okay, so I guess the biggest thing is that that I learned is you can't just consider your book just a book. Your book is a business. It is something that you have to market. It is something you have to promote. It is something that you need to research the legal ramifications of it uh, with copyright and just all the things that go into that. So, as an inspiring writer, uh, it's great to write the book. And that's what I learned. That was the biggest thing that I learned, that
Mm,
my book is not just a book, but it's a product. And
mm,
it's a product that's on the market. And so, just like any other product that's on the market, I have to do the work that goes into promoting that product. Uh, if you're shy, you have to move past that. If you're
mm,
an author, if you want people to purchase your book or know your story, you're going to have to share your story. So,
mm.
you have to come out of your shell.
Stenetta, if people want to learn more about you and your work, where's the best place they could go to?
Okay, so you can visit me on my website. You can visit me on my website. That's me. And so that's Stenetta, Stenetta, Anthony A. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you'll have the link. ANTHONY.weebly.com. So you could find me there. Or you can find
Okay.
me on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, not Twitter, X, I'm sorry. X,
Yeah.
X and Pinterest and LinkedIn. So
Cool.
you can find me on all those spaces.
You're everywhere, Stenetta. You're everywhere. Look at that.
Yeah, so I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Stenetta. And listen, when you get your another book coming out, I'd love to talk about Ella Learns to Dance, the sequel. That's exciting.
Well, thank you. I would be happy to come back on.
I'll tell you what. You can go count to 100, and then I'll come up. Okay.
Okay, baby.
All right. Now.
No, that's not how to count, baby. Or 10.
No, not to 10. Okay.
No, that's wrong.
I understand that's 10. All right. Go get ready for bed first. Okay.
Well, we have to count to 10.
No, count to 100. Okay, and go tell your sisters to help you.
That's
Forgot to lock.
fun.
I forgot to lock my office door.
Did you say you forgot to lock it?
Yeah, I forgot to lock my office door. They usually are. Go, Iggy, go. All right.
Well,
Yeah. So this is the fun part. See, I get to timestamp this, and then that way when I edit it, this will be. So I got some my Patreon page. People always my Patreon members get to see the unedited version of my shows, so they'll get a good kick out of that. So yeah, and yeah, that'll be like a nice surprise for them. All right.